Hi everyone, I'm Rebecca Virginia, and today I am kicking off my summer crafting series. I'll have a new video for you every 2 weeks, and today we are jumping right into the summer crafts with some sunflower themed DIYs. Sunflowers give off the ultimate summer vibes, so I thought it'd be really fun to use some Dollar Tree items, some scrap materials that I had, and create some new fun projects for you guys. This first one, I am using the lid of a mason jar, but you could use a circle ring, you could use a paper towel holder if you cut it off, you can cut out a circle out of cardboard. Doesn't really matter because we're going to be hiding this. Then I cut a bunch of strips of yellow fabric. They were roughly 1 inch in width and roughly 6 inches in length, but I just kind of eyeballed it. These are going to be scraps and I'm trimming them anyway, so it's not super particular on what the sizing is, and I just had a bunch of yellow scrap fabric from different projects that I had. So any kind of fabric that you have laying around the house, maybe an old t-shirt, I'm going in with all of my yellows and just tying them in a knot. I was good with just using one knot. If you're using longer strips of fabric, you might need to double knot it, but I ended up trimming this at the end anyway, so one knot worked out for me. I went in with some tie-dye yellow fabric. I have polka dot, and then you'll see me in just a little bit go in with some burlap fabric for the center. This is a super easy DIY. You're just cutting out strips of fabric and tying it. It does take a little bit long, so put on your favorite YouTube show, maybe something on Netflix, and just start tying all around your circle. Then I wanted to trim off some of our fabric petals, so I just grabbed my scissors. I wanted it about medium length, so I just went around and gave it a little haircut. And like I mentioned earlier, I took some burlap fabric for the center. I just hot glued it in there, and then I went around it with my precision scissors and trimmed off all of the excess. Now that the sunflower is done, I need to add a stem because I wasn't sure exactly at this point in the craft what I was going to put them in, but I figured a planter or a mason jar, something like that. So I did hot glue on a bamboo skewer. I get these in a pack of, I think, 100 in the kitchen section of the Dollar Tree. Another example of something that you can use if you don't have a mason jar lid, these wood rings came in a pack in the Dollar Tree Crafter Square section. So when I made my smaller version of the sunflowers, I used one of these wood rings and went in with some more yellow fabric. You can't tell quite enough on the video, but although it's yellow, it had a little bit of different design on the actual fabric. I think this one was polka dot and maybe a paler kind of yellow. So I went in with this dark gingham and did the exact same thing. I hot glued it down into the center and then cut off any of the excess before also adding a bamboo skewer onto this sunflower. I couldn't stop at just 2 sunflowers. I remember when I was younger watching something on, I think, HGTV, and I don't remember if it was called The Rules of Threes or just odd numbers in general, but the designer on that show said that everything looks better in odd numbers, specifically groups of 3. I don't always adhere to that, but it is something that I have always kept in the back of my mind. It's so funny the things that you hear that stay with you and the things that don't, but that is something that I always kind of take into account in any of my crafting and my design work. So on our last sunflower, I did the same yellow fabric on this one, but then instead of doing the gingham as the center, I went in with some more of that burlap fabric. This is a mason jar. If you haven't checked out my bridal shower video, I show you how I painted it and added some fun picture decor on it. If you're planning a bridal shower for this summer, I will have that linked up above, but I decided to repurpose it and use it as a jar for our faux sunflowers. Dollar Tree has this great sunflower ribbon, so had to use that. I had bought it a couple years ago. I think I actually have a picture of my dog when he was really little, like a puppy, eating it, and I hadn't used it, so I figured it was the perfect time to bring out the sunflower ribbon. I just wrapped it around the mason jar and then finished it off with a bow in the center. I also added a little bit of raffia kind of as a filling in between the sunflowers. I really liked the way that looked, and I cannot wait to display these in my living room. I think they're going to be a fabulous pop of color in that room. Next up, I'm bringing it a little bit back to the old YouTube crafting days. I used to always do the faux book stacks out of the crates at the Dollar Tree, and I haven't done one in a while, so I wanted to go back to the basics on this. You can find the wood crates in the Crafter Square section. They come in, I think, 2 different sizes. This one is actually more of a crate because those 3 pieces are separate. On a lot of them, they're fused together, but doesn't really matter. You're gonna get the same finished look on the centerpiece. I'm using a shade of paint that I absolutely love. It's called Honey by Faux, and it is the perfect honey color or sunflower color. It is such a go-to in the fall and also in the summer season. And then on the bottom, I use the brown that I pretty much always use. It's called Burnt Umber by Apple Barrel, and then a shade just called White. Pretty easy on the top and pretty much everywhere else on the crate. For the wording on my crate, I used vinyl, but if you have a nice handwriting, go at it with a paint pen or even a paintbrush and some paint. Now for kind of the main part, I am using a rub-on transfer. I got this from Essential Stencil, say that 3 times fast, and I like their stencils, but I absolutely love their rub-on transfers. It's so cool. It reminds me of the temporary tattoos you would put on as a kid. They are so vibrant. They really look like you printed it out and then maybe put it on like a sticker. They are absolutely gorgeous. I'm going to use them a little bit later in another DIY. I'm not sponsored or anything. I just really love the transfers. I know Dollar Tree does have some, and in a later DIY, I'll show you a sticker of a sunflower you could also use. And then on the left-hand side, I wanted to add a little bit of embellishment, and I thought the kind of black gingham went with the center of our sunflower, so I just added that on the side. This is a really cute faux book stack. You could put it on a real book stack or just place it anywhere as some extra decor. Speaking of going back to the basics, this next DIY, I am repurposing a glass bottle. Instead of throwing it out, I wanted to do a summer DIY, just painting some flowers onto this glass bottle. It really reminds me of crafts I used to do when I was younger. So this glass bottle is one of my favorites. I've used it many, many times. They are the sparkling lemonades that you can find at Aldi, and they are just the perfect bottles for crafts, and the lemonade is delicious. So it's really a win-win situation here. To make our petals, I'm using the shade. It's called Honey by Faux, and it's one of my absolute favorite shades. I told you in the book stack, it's just such a good summer shade. It works so well for honey and for the sunflowers. To make the flowers, there's not really any intense directions I need to give you. I kind of just freehanded it, and yeah, they're not the most perfect sunflowers in the world, but I think they do the job. The really only thing that I would say you pretty much have to be particular on is just making sure that the ends of the petals, the tips there, are a little bit thinner and kind of come out to more of a point than anything at the center of the flower. Then I did want to add in just a little bit of definition, so I went in with a lighter yellow shade. It's called Bright Yellow by Apple Barrel, and I placed that on the center part of our petals just to add a little bit more of a highlight. A little tip that I use is using a Q-tip. No pun intended, but now that I've said it, pun is intended because I'm using the Q-tip for all of the smaller details on our sunflowers. It's especially good at going on glass. I just find that you get a good amount of paint product when you use a Q-tip. So I'm going in with black for the center area of our flower petals. And then once that had completely dried, I definitely suggest waiting until it completely dries. Otherwise, you will have black paint everywhere. I went in with some white paint and a clean Q-tip to make some little small dots all around the black centers of our sunflowers. To add detail to the center of our flowers, I used that same beloved honey paint color and another clean Q-tip and just made dots all around the center section. The final bit of painting for our bottle is adding in a couple of leaves. This color is called Bright Green by Faux, and I used, no surprise, yet another Q-tip to paint out a couple of green leaves around our sunflowers. I loved the way that this looked during the day, but it really becomes magical, very summer secret garden vibes. Once you tuck some fairy lights down into it, I will have these ones, which are attached to a faux cork, linked down below in my Amazon storefront. Next, I wanted to do a DIY using black paint. You usually don't think of using dark colors when it comes to summertime, but I thought that it was a really nice contrast to those bright yellows and kind of orangey shades of the sunflower. So first, we are transforming this Dollar Tree milk jug sign. I had used it in a previous DIY, so that's why it has the white paint on it, almost like a primer. But then I went over it with some black paint. So if you're grabbing this sign, it's from the Farmhouse collection, again from Dollar Tree. You can just go over it in black. There's no need to prime it. And then once that was completely dry, I went in with my chip brush and some white paint to just add a little bit more of a distressed look and not have it completely matte black, but bring in some other color as well. Going back to those rub-on transfers from Essential Stencil, I just absolutely love these. I had so many in my pack, so I took, I think, about 4 of them, and I am just rubbing on and transferring them onto our sign. They transfer really nicely onto wood. Of course, you don't have to get these. This sign is from the Dollar Tree. It has the blessed and the family and the little sunflowers on it, so it kind of already has a transfer. So don't worry if you don't have these. You can find something either in stickers or in a rub-on from the Dollar Tree or really any kind of craft store. I grabbed a bunch of the faux sunflower florals from the floral section at Dollar Tree, and then some of this thick jute and wrapped it around the top. So it kind of made the illusion that this was a vase for the flowers and the sunflowers were coming out of it. I had a bunch of these tags that I got from the Dollar Tree. They are sticker tags, but I threaded it through some of this gold wire. I liked the shiny gold that it brought through. Thought it kind of went with the sunflower vibe, and then wrapped that around our sign. I don't have the best handwriting in the world, but I didn't want to use another transfer or a vinyl, so I just grabbed a pen and wrote "Hello Summer" on my tag. But of course, you can write whatever you want. You can say sunflowers, $5, or I don't know, make any other sort of tag, but I thought it added a nice little farmhouse touch to have the tag hanging off of our vase of sunflowers.
I'm going to be using chicken wire that I found at my Dollar Tree in this DIY. But I know that this is a harder to find item, but don't worry, you can still do this DIY. I would suggest using the clear sink mats that are found in the kitchen section, or you can also use one of the rubber grippies that go under mats. They're like a mat, but the rubbery ones that are found in the home goods section of the Dollar Tree. Both of those, when painted and styled, also look like chicken wire. The good thing about using those too is that they wouldn't poke you like this chicken wire was doing to me. And all that I'm doing is wrapping the chicken wire around this Dollar Tree vase, and then at the top I just tucked the chicken wire down into our glass vase. The idea behind this DIY is I wanted to turn the vase into something that resembled a beehive or a honeycomb. So I know that I could have gone in with orange or a yellow paint to kind of make that point more obvious, but I also wanted this to match the decor in my home right now so that I could actually use it. So I decided to paint it entirely white using my Waverly paint in white. I'm going to end up using sunflowers in this vase, but I also think it would be so pretty if you put in a LED candle and then it would glow with a yellow orangey color through the vase. And like most of my DIYs, I can't just leave it white. I have to go in with my stippling brush from the Crafter's Square section of the Dollar Tree and some brown paint, and then I just dry brushed it onto my vase, creating a nice distressed look. There's a couple different options for what you can use on the next part of this project. Some of this nautical rope cotton or nautical rope jute would work really well, but an even cheaper option, because you get lots of pieces of rope for only $1, is taking one of the mop heads from the Dollar Tree. And I really liked it because it was a softer texture to work with, so it really laid flat and was very pliable. So I just tied it once around our glass jar, and then I went in with one other piece, but I didn't want this piece to be hanging down the front, so I just cut it in the back and hot glued it down. Next, I took a piece of jute and I tied it around our honeycomb vase in between the two mop strands. And this jute is going to be holding up our little bumblebee wood laser cutout. I thought these laser cutouts were so cute, but I couldn't tell if this one was supposed to be a bumblebee or a ladybug or just an insect. So that's why I went ahead and painted it so that it looked more like a bumblebee. But I also really love just the plain wood. I wasn't sure which one to use. I thought the bright colors popped a little bit more for this video and pictures, but personally I really liked just the plain wood laser cutout. Also, the ends of the mop were fraying and I thought looked just a little bit messy, so I did take a lighter and I just burned the ends so that they wouldn't fray. I did go ahead and do this outside. I lived in an apartment building and was a little scared I might set off a smoke detector or something, so I did that off camera. I wanted to bring in those warm honey tones, so I decided to go with some sunflowers from the Dollar Tree. But like I said earlier, I think it'd be really beautiful to put in an LED candle and then it would shine a yellow honey color at night.
Thanks so much for watching. I'll have a new video in 2 weeks. Until then, keep searching, keep creating.